All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and shalom to all the sons and daughters of Israel. This is going to be a recap of the debate that went down between Pastors Dowell of Straightway Ministry and Pastor Roberts of Yah's Victory. That's his YouTube channel. And the debate was about biblical marriage or polygyny, if it is lawful. Okay, but the title of the video is biblical marriage. In fact, the link is in the description box below. First and foremost, I'm not going to get into a bunch of name callings and really disparage either opponent. I'm not going to do that, but I will just give an analysis of what I thought transpired in the debate. Now, I will warn you that the debate is over 4 hours long, and a lot of people didn't finish the debate for various reasons, and the length of it being one of those reasons. But I will touch on some of the things that I noticed in the debate. Now, the question on the table is polygyny lawful? Okay. Now, it went as debates go, the opening statement, some rebuttals, and some cross-examination, which was fine. Now, I wanted to see this debate because, for a while, Pastor Dowell had issued a challenge to any pastor who would challenge him on the topic of biblical marriage. And obviously, Pastor Robert was the only one to accept that challenge. Now, at the outset, let me just say, I don't know either one of the men personally. Okay. I have looked at their channels, both channels, subscribe to Pastor Dowell's channel, subscribe to, Pastor Robert's channel, looked at a few of their lessons and things like that, but I don't know them personally. I've never spoken to them and they have never spoken to me personally. So let me just get that out of the way. But I can tell that both of these gentlemen, have had a lot of experience in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Tanakh, and the Brit Hadashah. But I wanted to see how each of them would present their argumentation. So let's start with Pastor Dowell. Pastor Dowell, he comes into with his, his opening statements, and he pretty much laid the groundwork as far as what the debate is going to be about and where he stands on it, which of course he's pro polygyny, or that he says that the Bible supports polygyny. And so he laid that out. He even laid out where the Bible actually regulates it. If a man takes another wife, and if a man humbles, a virgin, and things like that. And then of course he lays out a number of the patriarchs, with Abraham, Moses, and David, just to name a few. And then he had one question that pretty much ran throughout the debate. One question. He said, show me a line, one script where it is prohibited. So the onus was on Pastor Roberts to present that information. Okay. Now for the argumentation for Pastor Roberts. His argumentation was that we should always go to the Brit Hadashah, okay, or to the beginning, or to the genesis of all things. And so he wanted to lay the foundation of the model being Adam, Eve, one man, one wife. And so that's where he stood, and that's pretty much where he stayed as far as the basis of his argument throughout. But as the debate went on, I noticed a couple of things. With Pastor Roberts, he would deviate from the point. His reasoning was riddled with non sequiturs. Okay, he kept talking about things that had nothing to do with the debate, which is polygyny lawful? Okay, what is it prohibited? He never issued any line of scripture that suggests that it is not lawful or that it is prohibited. In fact, a few times he resorted to insults and name callings, and there's a lot of frustration. Now I know in debates, a lot of times debates can get heated, and there's a lot of frustration, but he was definitely getting pretty upset So he used a lot of ad hominem arguments and things, and just said just disparaging things and mean things, and insulted some people in the audience. Um, that's just something that you can see for yourself. So there's no bias here. It's just calling it as I see it, just see exactly what was going on in that debate. Now, as for Pastor Dowell, he stayed on topic. Now, I know it sounds like, okay, well, Robert, you or Israelite Prepper, you are favoring one, and I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm just saying exactly what transpired in the debate, and that's what was happening. It was just one debater was staying on topic. That would be Pastor Dowell, and he would give scripture, stayed away from his personal opinion, and he would just give simple scripture. Pastor Roberts, on the other hand, he did not use scripture to prove his point. However, he did have a lot of red herrings, and he did have a lot of assertions. He did have a lot of personal opinions. And then he started throwing out things that had nothing to do with the topic at hand. He would use examples in the Bible over and over that had nothing to do with it. Or he would attempt to make the argument of, well, look at all these bad examples, all the problems in polygyny. Good. But we both can say there's problems in monogamous relationships as well. So I'm not sure if that's a good argument. It went on for a long time. And then even at one part of the debate, he was Pastor Roberts was very rude to the moderator. I agree that a moderator should not inject any personal feelings or any personal biases and stuff to that nature. However, we don't know, because he cut him off so quickly. I don't know if he was going to inject the moderator. I don't know if he was going to inject something personal or not, because he was cut off pretty soon. It sounded like an announcement or something that he was going to do. But I don't know. I can't argue. I don't know what he was going to say. He was cut off real fast, and it was pretty rude. Then Pastor Robert, another thing that he did was that he attacked one of the people asking a question from the audience. Now, he said he was looking for clarity, but he was pretty much yelling at him and asking him to phrase his question this way and that way, that type of thing, which is unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. You can just calmly ask, hey, I don't understand, could you rephrase it? But that is not the case. Again, you could just click on the debate, and if you can, or over 4 hours of a debate, you go for it. But you'll see that it is it's in there. A few other things that I wanted to touch on, let's see here, in the debate, is Pastor Dowell was pretty clear in his argumentation. It was sound, it was very reasoned, and it was backed up by scripture. And that's exactly what the debate is about. It's about scripture. He was cordial, he was respectful, and something that you can see. You don't have to even take my word for it. This is just my opinion on how the debate went. This is simply an analysis of how the debate went. On the other hand, Pastor Roberts was not very clear, and a lot of it was, or what he was trying to say was lost in the thick accent that he chose to use. Now, I know a lot of people, if you've never seen him before or whatever, it may not bother you, or it may seem, genuine. I'm not saying whether it's real or fake or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I will say this. Into a couple people that known Pastor David Roberts for decades, and they say that his accent is put on, that he did not used to speak that way. So I don't know, I don't know, and it doesn't matter to me. My point of bringing that whole thing up was that it was getting hard to understand what he was saying. It's not very clear, and you'll notice when you're in it that he's very, at first blush, he seems very, very, very eloquent in speech. And again, I'm not saying, he wasn't sincere or anything like that, but at least what happened to me, I'll speak for myself. When I was listening to Pastor Roberts, and it was his accent was bogging down the entire process, at least trying to understand what he was saying. It made it refreshing to hear Pastor Dowell, even if you didn't agree with him. It was just refreshing to have that clarity right there, just to hear him speak very clearly, very straightforward, very to the point. Okay. So that really kind of bogged down. Does that automatically mean Pastor Roberts lost the debate because he was speaking with an accent? Of course not. Okay. It's about proof, evidence, and argumentation, logic and reason and things like that. So I'm not saying it. I'm just saying as as a listener of the debate, but it could get bogged down, but you may like it. I don't know. You may like it, but that's my argument. Where I stand on it, and some of you probably already concluded, well, he's just, on Pastor Dowell's side. Like I said in the beginning, Pastor Dowell, we've never spoke to each other face to face. We never spoke to each other on the phone. I don't know him. He didn't know me. Same as Pastor Roberts. We don't know each other. But the debate, I got to give it to Pastor Dowell. I've already laid out. Okay. Now, what happens to people is that they tend to go into these debates and they already have a bias. Okay. And I understand that's, I get that. I get that. Now, I had a bias on the topic. Okay. I didn't have a bias regarding the opponents who were debating it. I had a bias on the topic because I had studied the Bible regarding polygyny, but I studied the Bible regarding all types of doctrine. I don't have a pet doctrine whatsoever, but I wanted to see the argumentation on both sides. And it was clear. You don't have to take my word for it. That's why I included the link. You should watch it, yourself if you have time. If you're resting on a Sabbath, it might be something good that you can kind of listen to while you're sitting there resting. And if you're not studying otherwise, but go in open mind and just see which one makes sense. Now, that brings me to a brother who I don't want. I'm not trying to be vicious. I'm not trying to attack this brother, or no ill will towards this brother or anything like that. I have respect for this next brother that I'm about to name. And his YouTube channel is, Yah Saves 777. So this is kind of a counter to what he was saying in his recap of the debate. One of the things that he said in his recap is that God has a perfect will and Yah has a permissive will. And at first blush, it sounds good, but I have a problem with it. They were saying that his perfect will is that you have one man, one woman. And he was siding with Pastor Roberts. That's fine. That's his opinion. Just like this is my opinion that Pastor Dowell won this debate in a landslide. I mean, truthfully, if I just may be frank, it wasn't even close. Okay. But here's my problem with Yah Says and his position on perfect will and permissive will. I don't find that in the Bible. Because if we want to get technical, God's perfect will is for man to never sin, to never have sinned in the beginning, or to never sin again. His perfect will is simply that man do not sin, just be obedient. That's it. That's his perfect will. But something did change, did it not? In the beginning, something changed. See, his perfect will is for us not to sin. But you want to know what else was in the beginning? Nudity. And none of us are walking around nude. Agriculture, meaning, tending the garden and things like that, living off the land. That was his perfect will. And that changed also. So I don't subscribe to that idea that, you have a perfect will, permissive will, and then we get to pick and choose what was his perfect and what was his permissive and all. No, it's just simply we need to cut and dry. And there's a lot of things in the Bible that are cut and dry, very cut and dry. Okay. And then I know there's a part in the Bible where it says in Deuteronomy, I believe 17:17, forgive me, where it says, that the king, that you set up on you, that he shouldn't multiply wives. But see, they don't. So you need to look at 16, 17, 18, where it says other things, that king shouldn't multiply wives. So you got to have one wife. But it also says that the king should not multiply horses. So a king can only have one horse. It also says that the king should not multiply silver and gold. So a king can only have one piece of silver, one piece of gold. See, that's the type of logic that's being used. That's the type of logic that's out there. The other thing is, if that is true, when we go to 2 Samuel 12 at about verse 8, where God said to David through Nathan that I gave you all these things. I gave you your master's house. I gave him the wives. I gave you everything. And if that wouldn't have been not enough for you, I would have gave you more. Forgive me for paraphrasing that, but you guys get what I'm saying. So, and David was a king. So obviously there is a misunderstanding there. So we need to dismiss this whole perfect will, permissive will, things like that. We all know that something changed. Okay. So he does not permit sin, okay, per se. Oh, well, I'm okay with this sin, but I'm not okay with that sin. We know that the Most High Yah does not operate that way. Okay, so this is just a counter to my brother brother Jason over at Yasave 777. Okay, no ill will, not a personal attack. Again, he doesn't know me, I don't know him. I got honor and respect for my elders, those who have been in this longer than I have, both Pastor Roberts and Pastor Dowell. They've been doing it way longer than I have. So I definitely give them some respect. And I only offer this as a simple analysis. Okay. Again, as a quick recap, so I can close this out and I can go get to the gym, is Pastor Dowell was very clear, succinct. He kept his argumentation based on what the scripture actually says, and he kept out his personal opinion on the matter. Okay. You may look at the video and say, oh, there's a lot of people, in the crowd or the audience that was with Pastor Dowell and Straightway. However, the invitation was open to everybody, and Pastor Roberts he has a community as well. He could have brought a ton of people from his own community or the people who follow him and invite him. He chose not to. I mean, that was his choice. Okay. Now, Pastor Roberts, again, not clear. He kind of rambled. It was a lot of rhetoric, a lot of non sequiturs, just dealing with stories and passages that had nothing to do with the topic, going into look at the people in China and India and things like that, which had nothing to do with the topic at hand. I'm trying to find a point. I'm struggling to find a point to give to Pastor Roberts, but it's just not there. It's just not there. So that's my recap. That's my analysis. Pastor Dowell won this debate hands down, but I would encourage you to check out the debate yourself and see if you come up with something different. And please like, subscribe, and put your comments below. Until next time, shalom.